Hey y'all, thanks for stopping by. So, there's this running joke with gamers where they say stuff like, no politics in video games. And this usually spawns up whenever a new release comes out and a character's introduced that they think doesn't fit the setting. Or maybe it's a quest line that goes in a direction they weren't expecting. That's when it gets political, you know. They'll often don't put your politics into stuff, don't ham fist it, don't shoehorn it, don't shove it down our throats. That's the common one. And I think a lot of us realize that phrase doesn't make sense. Like, you can't keep politics out of any work of art, to be honest. That's not to say there aren't apolitical titles. Sports games, I think, take that pretty well. Most racing games, I won't really make the argument towards Need for Speed being apolitical when you play as cops and you can pick and choose who goes to jail. Some of those stories are pretty interesting for that, but I digress. No politics in games. They'll say, well, it's not that there are no politics in games before, but, they didn't preach at you back then. They didn't shove it in your face, and that's the difference. And the one that gets joked about a lot, especially, is BioShock, which I made a little meme post about that on Twitter yesterday. Something like, it's August 21st, 2007, and there's no politics in your video games. And that game in particular, you started off, you land at the lighthouse, you climb down, you get in the bathysphere, and then Andrew Ryan proceeds to debate Lord lecture you for 5 minutes or so about his ideology, why he designed Rapture the way he did, why he, his dream for the best world possible. He preaches at you for the duration of your ride. And then when you land in Rapture, you get out, you go into a little lobby area, and of course, what do you see but the giant statue of him? The big banner. No gods, no kings, only man. Very iconic picture. I think a lot of us, that's stuck in our minds. Took up the whole screen. Literally shoved it in your face. I don't know what more you want from me with that. Like, we start to realize, you engage with these people, no politics, for long enough, and you realize they like the politics when they agree with it. It's just when it's their idea of politics in games is people being included that they don't like, ideas being included they don't like. The Spider-Man 2 game, very funny example of this was the Deaf Girl, Miles Morales' love interest. You play it in her for a sequence and there's no sound, because she's deaf. That's the whole point of that sequence and why they directed it that way. And this was injecting wokeness into a video game. This was shoving politics in, which, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that deaf people existing was political. Sure, I'm sure you could make the argument about infrastructure being poor or the way that we design cities to forget the disabled. I would argue that's political, but just simply someone existing, that's not political. That's inclusion. And that's, of course, where we start to, it really comes to fruition now. Especially with this whole Sweet Baby Inc. stuff that's happening. I got yelled at that so much yesterday. People saying that's what's ruining video games. And then I look into it and it's like, they're a consulting firm. I said at the start of this with writers asking people on their team for insight onto how would this character behave. And that's what Sweet Baby Inc. does. They look over stories if they're asked and they provide feedback on whether or not a character with this background may act this way. That's just good business practice, in my opinion. You're making sure your story makes sense. But somehow, making sure your story makes sense and is accurate to people's lived experience, that's woke. That's accuracy is political, apparently. We want good lies in our video games that we can believe. If it has anything to do with what people might actually experience, then it's a problem. Apparently. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure this out. I'm very new to this Sweet Baby Inc. stuff. Every time I heard it, I kept thinking about barbecue sauce. So this will be a fun journey for all of us to take together. People keep saying to me that this is Gamergate 2, and I wasn't really that into the first one because I'm a normal person and I just play video games for fun. I talk about the stories with my friends because we enjoy talking about philosophic and political themes in media. I think a lot of us like to do that, and there's no harm if you don't. But let's get serious about what we're saying on the internet, and you can be honest with yourself. You don't have to say that you don't like politics and games. Just be honest about what you believe. It'll make everybody happier. It'll make you happier too, I promise that. But, I guess until next time, I got some more reading to do about the Sweet Baby Ink. But until then, y'all try to have a good day.